Guys, what is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. And today we're going to go over the top 10 units in Wargames, both adventures and assists. Now, if you guys want to enjoy this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi content, and comment down below, do you guys have the units in this list basically? And along with that, can you build a team out of these units? Their answer should be a yes for a lot of players, especially if you started during the anniversary itself. Now, of course, one thing to note as well is that the Record Buster season is going on now, and even though I should probably do a Record Buster list, right, I should probably focus on the Record Buster event right now. The popularity list right now hasn't updated too much, right? It updates every hour, but it's too early. It's only been a day and a half since the event has started, so I want to wait until maybe Sunday, Monday basically, to be able to record a video where I go over the Record Buster units. And you know, Record Buster also changes drastically because of, you know, the weaknesses and stuff like that. So I'm gonna let that on the side for a little bit and come on to it in the future. Today we're gonna focus on war games primarily, and I also want to mention what I think will be, you know, the cases for the new units that we've just gotten, right? Because they should, in theory, get a spot at least in most Magic War Games teams, right? Alright, so here's the most used character rankings of the last War Games, and at number 1, it's to nobody's surprise, it's the Nocturnal Elf Ryu. This unit is a monster. Getting that nullification ×2 for both physical and magic attacks for your allies is ridiculously strong, because that effectively, you know, blocks all attacks from both teams, right? And on top of that, if you have a unit like, say, Astrea, or the assist Artemis / Elpis, or Slycat Chloe, or something like that, where you're nullifying these attacks, you're protecting yourself from 4 attacks in total, basically. Well, 3 in the case of Astrea, but 4 attacks in total if you're running anything else specifically for physical attacks or something like that, right? So she is an insane unit, probably the universal unit in the game, in all honesty. I think she is far and wide the most superior unit in this game, to be honest. Now we have a lot of the anniversary units, so I don't really need to go into too much detail about the anniversary units. You've seen videos on them, you've seen me use them. I think the one unit I want to go over is Melia. Of course, Helga is amazing. She reduces physical resist and agility, which makes her an insane option for any team. I've always said this, told this to people. Agility is an insane broken stat in war games specifically. You want to make sure you're taking huge advantage of it. Obviously, we know Fianna's role in this game is amazing as well. She buffs your allies, and on top of that gets you SA Gate Charge, which helps you out, you know, pull off your special arts much faster, right? And then Finn is a straight up monster as well in terms of reducing the opponent's light resistance and then dealing a crazy amount of damage, right? A crazy amount of damage. But let's look at Melia, right? Why are people running Melia so much? And that is because of that. The thing at the very top of this line on Alcam Velbrer, I think that's how you pronounce the name. It's ridiculous. It is actually just ridiculous because if I'm not mistaken, she launches this first, followed by Archer Cheer on the second turn. And because she launches this first attack first, effectively, she reduces your strength, magic, and dexterity. And by reducing your dexterity, she reduces your critical rate, your counter rate, and a lot of other things like the ability to penetrate, god rate, and stuff like that, leaving you even more vulnerable than just even reducing the damage you do to your enemies, basically, as a result of that. And then on top of that, Archer Cheer will further reduce your agility, physical resist, god rate, and counter rate. Crazy. It is honestly absolutely crazy. And then on top of that, any strength debuffs you've gotten, any agility debuffs you've gotten, that goes as well. She is a monster. I'm considering using her even if she may be +2. I genuinely think she is going to be an insane unit. I think I have her +2 if I'm not mistaken. If I were to look at my box, I'm pretty sure I had her +2. That is how good she might be, in all honesty. And if you have the units to cover her for damage and stuff like that, like say if you have Helga, Fianna, Finn, honestly, you will have no issues whatsoever. I'm very curious to see how I can utilize her, in all honesty. I'm very excited to try that out. On top of that, we have obviously Yuri as well here, who would go hand in hand kind of with Melia, to be honest, because she effectively, you know, you basically use Melia as a wind unit, and you know, a unit that specifically is debuffing your enemies, right, and whatnot. Yuri kind of does the same thing here as well. He also debuffs your enemy basically, and he removes the strength, magic, and dexterity buffs you may have, and on top of that implements wind resist, critical rate down, and penetration rate down, and stuff like that. And then on top of that, of course, he also does have the similar thing to Ryu, where he does have a slow null physical attack ×1, which kind of helps you out a little bit. So overall, he's a really solid unit in this regards, but he's a little bit low down compared to Melia. I think, you know, if you have that combination of Helga, Melia, Finn, and Fianna, that combination is genuinely ridiculous. I think there are a lot of teams you might be encountering that are basically just that. I think Ice Ties in my friends list literally has a very similar team. Instead of Helga, she has Lazar. Lazar isn't a bad option either, because you get that physical and magic resist going basically, right? As well as some debuffs on your enemies. But again, I think if you have that composition of Helga, Fianna, Finn, and Melia, you're gonna be very, very good. Now we have Shadow Elf Ryu. Shadow Elf Ryu is a very interesting unit because, in my opinion, I still, to this day, don't understand how she's managed to just take her... okay, that's the wrong way of saying it. It's not that I don't understand it. I'm just shocked as to how popular she is as a unit. But it comes down to what she does immediately. Like, look at that. The first line on her list, Noir. Fast, strength, magic, AGI, physical, and magic resist down -30%. And then on top of that, allies, STR, match, agility, physical, and magic resist plus 30% for 1 turn. That's pretty good. I'm sorry, but that's actually really good. She doesn't do anything else. If you look at the rest of her kit, she doesn't do anything else. It's just Noir. That is so good, because you're just implementing that off rip. And then your opponents will be suffering because you've reduced their agility, physical and magic resist, allowing your units to deal more damage to them, and you've increased your physical and magic resist, meaning they can't deal damage to you. Overall, really solid. And the thing is, she's also pretty universal, because she isn't just applying magic, you know, to your allies or just STR. It's both of those things. And agility being such an important stat, I've said this multiple times, agility is a very important stat. She does that as well. So overall, that is the big reason why this unit is as high up as she is. She isn't, okay, 1 second, I need to check. She isn't time limited as well, so it makes it even more of a reason why this unit is so good to have in your team, if you can basically pull her from the permanent pool, in all honesty. Like, genuinely, the funny thing is, a lot of people feel like time limited units run riot in war games, and to an extent that is true. I mean, if you look at the list, and I'm look at just the list right now, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, well, tied 4th, but 4th, 6th, 8th are all time limited units. I know Vesta and Yuri are tied as well, but Vesta is also time limited. But effectively, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 10 units are time limited. Nocturnal Elf Ryu, Shadow Elf Ryu, Otoro, and Gareth are not time limited, which means you could actually, in theory, combine all 4 of those units and actually make a good team out of it. And I'll tell you exactly why as well, because effectively, let's start off with the first 2 units. Both the Ryus on top, they're fantastic support units. Like I said, that the Shadow Elf Ryu effectively debuffs your enemies and buffs your allies. Really strong. Ryu nullifies physical and magic attacks. Really strong. Now we look at Otoro and Gareth. Let's look at them at both at the same time, and then we'll wrap up with Vesta as well. Vesta, of course, I can't really expect a lot of new players to get, because she's from last year's anniversary, right? We just had the anniversary go by, actually, the anniversary rerun for the 4th Annie. I don't know when we'll get the next rerun for the Vesta celebration, so I'm not really gonna sit here and say like, oh, you should go for that, because you might not even be able to go for that, unfortunately, in all honesty. So let's look at the Gareth first, because we came by him first. And yeah, as you guys can see, Cosmic Barrier is the big reason why he's up there, man. That fast 40% HP heal to all allies, including a guard rate up, physical magic resist up, and the opponent's STR magic critical rate and penetration rate down -40% for 1 turn. Even if it's for 1 turn, again, the ability to just basically stall your team, and that's one thing a lot of players are doing nowadays, is they're doing a lot of stall. All right, sorry about that. duty called, unfortunately. That was my mother, dearest calling. Thankfully, nothing appeared on screen, I think. But effectively, I think where I left off was that he basically, if you look at a lot of stall teams in the past, right, or not even in the past, but right now as well, you look at the stall teams available right now, you're gonna see units like Galmus, Gareth. Yeah, I mean, I was about to say Galmus and Gareth together are phenomenal. You have Fianna as well. Some people are running the RD from 30th anniversary as well. People are running Vesta as well. These are some great options, in all honesty, right? I mean, if you look at the fells that that person had at number 1, right, it basically is another unit that effectively is just, again, there to stall effectively and give you a little bit more heal, get you that light res, dark res, or get that element resistances going, so just buffing up that. And then of course Fianna is there to deal the damage, basically, right? That's what it is at the end of the day, which is ridiculous, but it works tremendously, trust me. And speaking of which, by the way, that fells another non-time limited unit, so you can try and get the fells as well if you want. All right, let's look at the Otoro now. Let's see. This is an Otoro I actually don't have either, to be quite honest, but he is very, very, very good, because what he does is he basically removes your opponent's elemental damage buffs, which is great, right? And then on top of that, if you look at his self buff as well as his just foes debuff, right, it's insane. He can basically keep himself alive consistently with Peal of Thunder, with that 60% HP heal and regen, and then the SGR guard rate heal, thunder attack damage, P-res and M-res 60% up, and then your opponents lose that penetration rate as well as physical resist down for 6 turns? That's crazy. That is honestly nuts. He's so good. He is actually so good. Highly recommended unit as well if you can pull him, and that's the reason why he's in the top 10. And now I'm gonna go over the Vesta as well if possible, just to see exactly what she does and help you guys understand how exactly she operates and why she's so good. That's the 3rd anniversary units. 4th anniversary is right here. There we go. There's the Vesta. Beautiful. So a lot of what she does initially is Hearth of Divine Fire, I should say. She fast removes SGR magic, AGI, endurance, and dexterity debuffs, and also increases her SGR magic and fire attack damage 35% and avoids KO. This is something that happens 2nd turn, if I'm not mistaken, because 1st turn what she does here is basically she removes, again, she does the super fire magic attack, removes SGR magic, agility, endurance, and dexterity buffs. And again, this is, all of this is I reiterate, all of this is again to support you in terms of making sure you stay alive, making sure you're alive, and ensuring that your debuffs are removed, your opponent's buffs are removed, and you're living good. Basically, you're living good. A lot of the units in this list, you can tell, are going to be the support type units, because what they end up doing is they are so universal. Again, I come back to that point, universal units. They can be on any team, and it's why you're seeing so many of these units go into these teams. I wouldn't be surprised if next Wargame season you're gonna see a lot more Galmuses, right? Especially with these new Earth units that have come out. I think he's gonna fit right in with them, because he's gonna make sure that they survive, and then they can deal insane amounts of damage, right? Absolutely insane amounts of damage. And on top of that, a lot of those units counter these physical units. There are so many of these physical units on this list. Out of all of these units, there are only, well, technically, if I'm not mistaken, there's only 1 or 2 magic units technically, and even then they're all support type magic units basically. So there's no damage dealing magic units, and I guess that's the reason why they wanted to try and push people running those new swimsuit units, because those are magic units. They're buffing up magic. You're seeing on both the assist support magic units, right? So overall, again, you're gonna see that happen quite often, where they're gonna try and see if they can bring up a specific side more so after it's been in the dumps for basically the last 4 or 5 months maybe, right? So that's pretty much the reason why. But this is your top 10 for the last season of Wargames for the adventurer side. Let's look at the assists now. So of course we have the full moon Artemis or Elpis basically. She is basically an upgraded version of the Sly Cat Chloe. I don't think Sly Cat Chloe was on that list, but we're gonna look at the Artemis. If I go to the assists and if I just filter it to time limited 4-star, just to make my life a lot easier and so that we can scroll a shorter amount. But there we go. This Elpis or Artemis, it's the same thing. That null physical attack ×2 and then the instant effect of getting a 75% chance of getting a null physical attack ×1 on self is great. It's brilliant. It's so useful, and it just comes in handy for survivability. Again, this unit in hand with that Nocturnal Elf Ryu for nullified physical attacks, ridiculously good. Highly recommended. Highly recommended that you have this unit, but of course time limited, so unfortunately if you miss the opportunity to get her, well, we'll probably have to wait until the 4th anniversary rerun comes back around. Festive Girl Seer of Ariadne, Orna, Ryulu, Astrea, Chloe, Eyes, and Hestia. Okay, I'm gonna go about these units slowly but surely. So I've already spoken about Sly Cat Chloe, very similar to Artemis but without the additional actions. Ryulu effectively is agility down. That is the big part about her, right? And very strong unit, right? And Alf is of course strength and age agility up. Let's look at both of those at the same time right now, right? Both very strong units that just came out during the 5th anniversary. Very powerful, right? I would say probably the assists you wanted to get from the anniversary, right? Aki or Alkitian is very strong as well, really solid unit, but these guys are so good for war games, especially because of Alf's instant effect of the SGR and magic minus 40% at MLB, but minus 30% for 1 turn. Really good there. And then Ryulu, like I said, I would say this Ryulu was way better than the last Ryulu we got for the 2nd anniversary. Getting 20% agility down at MLB and a decent penetration rate down, and then on top of that getting the physical and magic resist up as well as a heal. Insane. Such a good unit. Such a good unit here. And I wish I got more copies of her. I think that's the most disappointing thing, is I didn't get more copies of her. I think she's at +3, could star bond her in the future, but yeah, as of right now, unfortunately, she is lacking a little bit, unfortunately. All right, I could also look at the Ariadne and Orna. They were units that actually came out in a very recent rerun, if I'm not mistaken, basically. This is if I'm not mistaken. They came out in the most recent rerun, if I recall correctly, right? But yeah, let's look at the Ariadne. So this is the latest Ariadne, the Path Ariadne. SR, magic and agility minus 15%, really strong. You're basically debuffing your entire enemy field basically, and then on top of that you're getting another 20% agility on yourself, and then 3 effects of penetration and counter rate on all allies, which is insane because you want that counter rate. I've mentioned this in Record Buster videos, but having your assists be able to improve your counter rate, or just your team having great counter rate, is really good, because that way you're chipping away at your enemy, but also if they have any nullifications for physical attacks or magic attacks, you're breaking them as well. Counters are such a great way for you to be able to break down your opponent's nullifications and stuff like that. It's very good, in all honesty. The new Orna as well, the Record Keeper Orna, is very similar to the Astrea, which I looked at as well because she was on the top 10 list as well. Nullification of physical and magic attacks, but also she has critical rates and penetration rates plus 20%, and a slow res of 100%, which is really good because you're countering ailment units as well in that regard. So really solid unit here, very strong, and is a much better version of this Astrea basically, because what this Astrea is again nullification of physical and magic attacks, but she also gives 30% HP regen. In all honesty, if you're going for offense, you want to go for the Orna, but if you're going for a stall team, this Astrea is probably your choice of a unit to have basically in your team basically. So there you have it. So there's the couple of units we've gone over. I think we went over the we went over Ariadne, we went over Orna, we went over Chloe, we went over Artemis, we went over Ryulu, we went over Alf. Let's look at the Seer, the Eyes, the Backstage Princess Eyes, and the Holy Flame Hestia, because those are the 3 that are left now. All right, so those are the 3 that are left. So let's look at Seer first, then we'll go over Eyes, and then we'll go over Hestia, because that Hestia is a very interesting unit, another unit that I wish I got more copies of. I only have her at +0, so I didn't get any dupes for her at all, which was very unfortunate, but it is what it is. Okay, I went into time limited, so well, that screwed me over then, but we'll look at Hestia then anyways, considering that's what we saw first. But again, a unit for the stall team basically. Allies damage received -20% from both all and single target type units basically, and 3 times null ailment. Again, breaks ailment, great for stall teams, really good unit. You're not gonna see her in a very hyper offense team, but she will dominate in any stall team and whatnot. Basically, just generally she'll dominate. In all honesty, I would probably say even in a hyper offense team, she will be a great unit to have just because of the null ailment ×3, especially if you're going up against a unit, a set of units that are meant for ailment, you know, just to protect you in those situations where you might have run into an ailment team randomly, and that will, you know, destroy your team basically, right? All right, let's look at Backstage Princess Eyes. Backstage Princess Eyes is a very interesting unit. What she does, and this is a unit that you should bring in from the back 2 units basically. STR magic, physical resist, and M resist up 10% for yourself, but your foes also lose 3 turns of the status buffs they have, which is great. Again, this is a unit that you want to bring in from the back so that they can help, you know, you can basically reduce the turns your opponents have their buffs live. So handy, super handy, right? I think this is a very good unit. Stood the test of time because I think she's about a 2-year-old unit, I think at this point, about maybe a year old. I don't remember. It's been a while since this unit has come out. I swear it might be a nearly 2 years now. Somebody in the comments can let me know when she came out. I absolutely don't remember. I have her +5 though, because I remember I really liked her as a unit when she dropped. Very nice. And Festive Girl Seer is a unit that we literally just got recently during the 5th anniversary. 4 times null ailment and damage received +20% to all enemies, which is great. Again, this is a unit that we just got, and I remember seeing her have 4 times null ailment, and I was like, that's crazy good. That is actually just crazy good. And obviously, you know, the 20% damage increase to your foes is great as well. Overall, a very solid unit. And in all honesty, if I had to replace, like, if I'm gonna show you guys my Wargames team, right? I have nothing to hide. You guys have seen my Wargames team here and there as well. But if I were to go into my Wargames team, I would change a couple of things in my team, in all honesty. So the first thing I would want to add is Ryulu. So I would remove Aphrodite and the Seer that I have right now. The Seer that I have right now also gives me null time ailments ×3, and the Aphrodite I have basically reduces agility as well as damage received on enemies basically. But what I would do is I would remove both of them, and I would throw in Ryulu, and I would throw in the what's it called, the Seer basically. I would throw in the new Seer basically. Those would be the 2 units I would throw in, and on top of that I'm probably gonna remove Lazar and put in Melia to see how that would work, even though it's +2, right? Like, I'm gonna show you guys my Melia right now. I think I have her leveled up, right? Yeah, +2 Melia. I could give it a shot and see how it works. It could work, it could go wrong. And maybe instead of Alkitian, I would probably run Argonaut or something, the Argonaut assist, which I'm surprised isn't on this list considering how often I personally saw him in War Games. But I guess a lot of the other players just generally have some of these other units instead. But there you have it, guys, both the top 10 adventure and assists of the War Game season just gone by. Let me know down in the comment section down below, do you guys have these units? Can you build a team out of these units? Like I said, you could easily make a 4-man team out of the Nocturnal Elf Ryu, Shadow Elf Ryu, Otoro, and Gareth. And in terms of assists, you could in theory run Slycat Chloe, right? Slycat Chloe, Festive Girl Seer, Holy Flame Hestia, and Backstage Princess Eyes, I guess, right? That isn't a terrible team, in all honesty. You could run that and you could go well, but of course it depends on if you manage to pull those units, right? But of course, if you have played during the anniversary, you probably have a majority of these units across both adventure and assist. Maybe less so the assist side, because a lot of them are from the 4th year anniversary, right? The Artemis Ariane, well, Artemis specifically, and Hestia, and then Ariadne and Orna were part of the Argonaut rerun we just had before the 5th anniversary, and Astrea's from the 3rd year anniversary. A lot of mix and match. A lot of anniversary units are in this list, but it's just how good the anniversary units are. I will say this, you have to remember, whenever you play Danmachi Memoria Freese, or if you're starting on playing Danmachi Memoria Freese, anniversary units are king. They are so good. You're gonna see them survive in war games and Record Buster and stuff like that for at least a year minimum. You're gonna see them regularly. You're gonna see people run them. I still see people run the Bell and Aisha. I still run the Bell and Aisha at times. So they're very handy. They're very handy units. All right. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Once again, appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. Hopefully you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. I will see you guys next time. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.